the things to do is, of course, to watch some incredible Overwatch. And we got just the thing for you. Another elimination game. We have to say goodbye to yet another team. I'm going to be very interested to see which one it will be. I think looking at the matchup here, ENCE and Toronto Defiant. Toronto Defiant has to be considered the favorite. It is by many. They were supposedly the team who can take it to the Korean rosters. Did they? Not yet. Well, first of all, they have to fight their way back up through the lower bracket. But let's look at who's in their way. ENCE. ENCE is the team to beat here. What were your thoughts thus far on ENCE's performance?
I mean, ENCE, so far, the only team to have anything other than a map loss to Team Falcons. They were able to secure a draw on Navani, partially through heroics from somebody like Kevster, Kai as well, putting in big work. I think a lot of pressure, though, in this series will be on the tank, Vestola. He came out and looked amazing for Team Finland in the World Cup. His Sigma, I think, one of the very best in the world. But can he make his comfort picks work against a team in Toronto Defiant that has consistently found and exploited the weaknesses of every opponent who's gone up against them?
Yeah, and I feel like when it comes to ENCE as well, they have so much name value on this roster. Obviously, some like big-time veterans on this roster who's played in some amazing tournaments in the past, right? So we're kind of waiting for this team to truly click and play really well all together. Obviously, Kevster can be a top-tier damage player who can take it to some of the best in the world, whoever you're discussing there, really. As well as Kai, you know, legend who's been around the scene now for many, many years and taken some incredible hit performances throughout the years against some of the best, right? So you really want to see ENCE out, Esports come out here and click and just play their best game all at the same time. Ghost 91 has been really exciting to watch here on the Baptiste, and I feel like for the past 6 months, really, Ghost 91 has had a spectacular Baptiste that is going to aid this team in this series specifically. It is a bit of a limitation that we don't see this team flex enough. There is going to be a lot of Vestola Sigma, there's going to be a lot of Ghost 91 Baptiste, and a lot of Masa Lucio, right? So that is what this team does best. That is a limitation of theirs, but still, there's so mechanically skilled, there's such good individuals that all these special heroes of theirs, they can really come out here and put up a good fight against Toronto Defiant.
The thing is, that potential lack of flexibility, especially in the tank department, can really hurt them because they're going up against the Toronto Defiant. And if we're looking at the tank department there, well, someone can just play it all. Like, they're not going to be limited whatsoever in what they want to play, how they can approach it. They can counter swap for days. It's not even a problem.
Yeah, they're a team that has consistently used that to their advantage. Whatever your opponent's weakest comp is, well, you better be ready to play it because that's what Toronto's going to make you play. If you want to have a compositional advantage, you're going to be taking it to your worst heroes against Toronto Defiant. They're ready for their opponents. They research them well, and they put them into a corner. This team in Toronto Defiant, there's a reason they're the #1 seed in NA, and frankly, that's with a few exclamation points. No one in NA has really, I mean, other than when they had a couple players sick, they lost to M80, came back in the grand finals, and just wiped them off the face of the earth, partially due to Merit, his ridiculous performances on HitScan. Vega as well on your screen right now. This is one of the most exciting rookies out of NA. I think the best main support in the region by a pretty good margin. He looked even pretty good for me, even against Crazy Raccoon. Yeah, he had an Ajax in the second map, but he was continuing to be aggressive, even as the series got really difficult, continuing to find kills.
Yeah, and even though they find themselves in the lower bracket, I still think, based on their previous series today, they have that kind of like aura to them. You still feel like they're in the mix. You still feel like they can adapt accordingly to how the meta is evolving. If we're going to see a lot of Mauga, I don't think necessarily that is a big problem for this team. We saw them come out, they're willing to play these Pharah compositions too. So when it comes to how the meta is developing, I don't think this team is going to have a big problem. I could very much see them going back to the room after the loss saying, hi, hey, how are we going to improvise? How are we going to change up our compositions? How are we going to adapt our play? And going into this series, having a fresh look because of their flexibility, right? And perhaps with that, they can give themselves a leg up against the competition. So I'm pretty confident in this Toronto Defiant squad. I think they have a good chance here today, and I'm looking forward for the rest of the tournament.
I mean, they look deadly. Yes, they suffered that loss, but I mean, certainly not for lack of skill. They almost managed to win on circuit there. It just was Crazy Raccoon absolutely refusing to lose, somehow edging it out. But we saw a lot of pop-up moments from Merit on the Cassidy and whatnot. Which of the players do you feel like have to step it up for this one?
I think there's going to be a little bit of pressure on Merit if there's anyone on this squad who could have trouble against heroes like BAP, Sigma, D.Va, right? Like, these are ENCE's bread and butter heroes. And to be fair, they're quite good against hitscan, right? In the past with Falcons, we saw them completely not using hitscan. That was what enabled them to kind of get past this Vistola Sigma, not having any backline at all for Sigma to really contest. Merit almost always locks in the hitscan. I mean, he's incredibly good on the roll. I want to emphasize that. He can make this work if you give him any kind of opening, but we need to see an incredible performance out of Merit today.
That's right. Well, we see that in just a little bit because we're ready. Is our audience ready? Are you ready for the last game of the day? That's what I saw. So, let's get our teams out, Danny.
DreamHack Dallas, put your hands together for ENCE!
Our runner-ups in Stage 1 and Stage 2 of OWCS EMEA. Coming here, fighting for the hopes of EMEA. Can they put it all together now when it matters in the lower bracket? Some absolute stars on this roster. Kevster, of course, a hyperflex who can play every hero that is really asked of him, play at an insanely high level, and can be instrumental in this series. Kai as well. Can the hit scan come out and match someone like Merit? A lot of questions about this ENCE team, but they just need to put it together in this one series to stay alive.
And their opponents, make some noise for Toronto Defiant!
North America's last hope standing before you on the stage. Let them know how you feel. Right here, Sugar Free, we've been waiting to see this guy at the top level for years, and he is delivering. Vega, RuPaul in the backline, holding it down, and who better to round this out than Merit and someone. Ridiculous performers in their roles. They can play absolutely anything, keep their opponents guessing. Let's hear it for Toronto Defiant.
Let's hear it indeed. The tournament live on the line. The stakes are high for this last elimination match of the day between ENCE and Toronto Defiant. And for all the action, we send it over to Jack and Necra.
Thank you very much, Desk. Yes, NA's last hopes and dreams now standing on stage facing ENCE, EU's #2 coming out of the region.
This is going to be such a good match, too. I mean, Toronto Defiant, they looked so good earlier today, even. Very, very close match that they were able to have versus the best team, dare we say, in the tournament so far, Crazy Raccoon. But
Yeah,
ENCE, like,
incredibly competitive series.
Super good
And that's
team.
exact. They bring that same fire, that same energy. I mean, ENCE might have to level up a little bit, I think. Yeah, Kevster and Kai have always been a big talking point for this team, but kind of something we were talking about during the break, Rose, is Vestola's ability to kind of flex onto these main tanks roles as well as these off tanks. We know he's an extremely proficient Sigma. It kind of hurts them a little bit, I think, that Chase isn't available for the team to play, but their backline is also something you can kind of incredibly rely on too. I like Johnny's point on the desk, picking up on Ghost, who has been kind of a standout performer for the team over the last stage.
really has been. We've seen a little bit more Ghost now as of late. Crimzo was actually stepping into the roster to play. Currently the coach of ENCE, but their hero pools are so similar. It's very difficult to kind of toss up like who would actually be able to play in that squad, but Ghost has really been impressive when it comes down to playing that Baptiste and really has to show up in a big way today here to make this ENCE team competitive into Toronto Defiant.
Will be an all EMEA lower bracket. They do manage to take it here and knock the NA teams out of the competition. Space Station have done it in their upper bracket match, and Hardy said on stage, you know, like, I think it's going to be Toronto. I want it to be ENCE for the EU boys, but I think I'm swaying towards Toronto Defiant. I think it's going to be an incredibly close one regardless. I mean, this was North America's best team, their #1 seed coming into the competition, and they have really been head and shoulders above the rest in that region. And, well, who's really surprised, especially with the caliber of the roster?
Well, that's the story, right? Which of these teams, if any, at this major can take down one of the Korean teams, Crazy Raccoon or Team Falcons? Both of them, behemoths of teams, and Toronto Defiant has consistently been a part of that conversation as a team that very well could take down one of those teams, and made it look very close today.
Yeah, just quickly dealing with audio issue Kai was having, but we'll get into the first map in just a moment. Already had a game 5 in our last series. If you've only just joined us, But this series is going to be a banger. Lenny on your screen right there. Having a little bit of fun the other day, right? Jumping over to the tank, the sugar-free tank. Pretty scary sometimes. And there was a rather fun match seeing someone on the Echo 2 getting a lot of duplications. They've had their fun, but now is the chance and the really time to show up here in the lower bracket. Loser here is going home.
Loser is going home, so a lot of stakes on the line for both of these teams. They do not want their tournament to end here. So it's going to be a hard-fought battle between both of them. But the onus really is on ENCE right now to try to figure out how they're going to get the better of Toronto Defiant, a team that is super flexible, super capable when it comes to playing any type of composition. And you can see that the road doesn't get any easier when you get past this point.
No, it does not. Winner here will face Space Station Gaming. They're in the lower semi-final, and they'll meet one of the Korean teams in the lower final. Of course, we'll know who that is tomorrow on the final day on Championship Sunday. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of cheers for Toronto Defiant as they began to walk out. You can see a lot of representation too, a lot of jerseys in the audience, looking pretty good. And that upper finals there, Falcons versus Crazy Raccoon. I mean, Crazy Raccoon have done it once. Can they do it again? Of course, that's all to be seen tomorrow.
Well, that was kind of the finals when we look at how Korea has gone down these past two stages. So, you know, what are you going to do? I think that's kind of what people expected. Crazy Raccoon, as well as Team Falcons, to be able to make it to that match once again, and that'll be their third time meeting. It's so exciting.
Look, I think everybody kind of predicted it, like you were saying, like Korean teams being on top. But Toronto Defiant, you know, if they got a little revenge bone in them, maybe they do end up making it all the way, right? I mean, we're guaranteed at least one of the Korean teams in that grand final tomorrow. Question is, who is it going to be, and can someone upset them in the lower finals? Still kind of sorting out an issue right now on ENCE's side, but shouldn't be too much longer before we jump into the first map.
So maybe let's take stock a second of both of these teams. We've kind of hyped up every individual player, but maybe a macro lens of what these teams offer would be really good here. Toronto can kind of bring everything, and in fact, when we take a look at some of the way that they've approached a lot of these last matches, doing a lot of counter-picking. They're not afraid to be able to switch things up, and it feels like they're going to get an upper hand over their competition in that way.
Yeah, and this is like we're only seeing sweeps if it's not NA and EU games, which is also really exciting. So expecting this one to go to a game 5, and I'm hoping so. I know the audience is too, but I've got a good feeling I know which way they're going to be cheering. It's like I said, there's a lot of Toronto jerseys in the crowd right now, is all I'm saying.
There are. I mean, it's been so fun to watch how that team and organization has kind of followed us through Overwatch history.
Yeah.
Having a team in the Overwatch League, retaining it for the Overwatch Champion Series, backing just this stacked roster of talent.
Yeah, they came into OWCS and it was like, okay, this team's winning it for sure. And they have lived up to that. Like, they are stage champions. They're back-to-back stage champions. Our first ones in OWCS at the start of this year. I mean, I'm looking forward to see how this team kind of develops, but how could they really develop much more when they've already got the best team in the region? They have to develop at the lands, here at DreamHack Dallas, or in Sweden, obviously, nearer the end of the year, if they can kind of keep up their dominance in the region. Looks like Kai is ready to rock and roll by the looks of things. Back in the headset, back on, put on the keyboard and mouse as close as possible, and I think we're about to get into map number 1. Here is the mode win percentage for both teams. Toronto Defiant, 86% win rate there on hybrid and control.
And Busan are going to be our first map of this series, but as we see the series extend, ENCE having a little bit of trouble on Esports so far. Not necessarily the best map type for them.
17% is low.
Maybe something Toronto can exploit a little bit later on in the series as we look at user picks.
Yeah, exactly. If Toronto do end up going down this first map, I mean, just take them to Escort and maybe jobs are good. And 75% win rate there for Toronto Defiant. But of course, we do start on control, like you said, at Busan. What do you think we're going to see here? Obviously, kind of hard to tell sometimes, depending on the stage, but it looks like we're ready and raring to go. ENCE versus Toronto Defiant, NA versus EU once again. Are we seeing a map 5? I hope so. Downtown, our first stage here.
So you were just talking about maybe what do we get a chance to see with Busan having so many dynamic stages. At the very least, we know we're going to see a bird. You saw that bird.
No, I wasn't looking at it.
He wasn't actually looking at the
I've decided
bird.
not to look.
He decided
I
he
will
did
pass
not
blind.
want to see it. But we're about to see this as the gates open up. We've got ENCE hovering over the Sigma composition. Someone right now on the Winston. As we're on downtown, there's a lot of verticality to play around with. Something that Winston is going to be able to have great access to. But it's the DPS lineups on both of these teams that make a little bit of a difference here with the Ashe versus the Cassidy, but those backlines are so different.
I mean, I love this Ashe pick. Not a pick we usually see anymore. And maybe that's one of the reasons why. That range advantage from the Ashe is super nice and Bob incredibly effective in the scrappy fights, but Cassidy, not only the mobility from the roll and the damage reduction, but also the range potential there. It isn't to be scoffed at. Ghost doesn't end up falling over to someone of all people. Sugar Free just taking over the backline. Okay, roster Ashe, in a matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all when you've got a player like Loophole that's able to just pump healing into the rest of the team. Someone able to play a very hyper-aggressive play style, able to even up the score for players and now be able to take control of this point. Kepster isn't even able to escape that either as someone chases him down, gives him a fist in the face.
Yeah, what's my guy doing back there? Kepster near Toronto's spot.
ENCE has switched. They switched over to the Mauga as Vistola makes that change off the Sig. We'll be able to get in a little bit easier as the cardiac overdrive as well to make Kepster just a little bit more menacing if he wants to play with the team. Typically, you're going to see that Tracer just try to take that off angle.
Partner for RuPaul as well, worth mentioning too. No Suzu on the side of ENCE. Of course, goes much preferring to run the Baptiste, so RuPaul a little bit more safe and can be way more aggressive with the nades and the sleeps and whatnot. So worth keeping in mind too. I mean, someone it's going to be hard to deal with now, especially with this Primal Rage. He spotted Ghost and he's out for blood. Aerosol at the first to fall though, but look at that collapse. The pulse bomb from Sugar Free and someone. This dynamic duo, unstoppable. And just crumble.
Great pulse bomb. Gonna use the nano boost here onto someone just as insurance. But that's because Kepster's in your backline. Rubal's gonna go down after that point, and even though Toronto Defiant were able to get that flip,
Kepster's had enough. He's had enough. 63% is all you're gonna get, Toronto. And just find the flip in the end. Sugar Free versus Kepster on the Tracer.
Just went crazy.
Yeah,
oh my God.
European powerhouse on that pick.
Yeah, really alive for this series. Someone's going to switch off the Winston, though, after using that Primal Rage. Switching over to the Doom Fist. We've seen this combination before from Toronto Defiant, using the Nano Boost on something like the Doom Fist to just get some really explosive power. But here's the Bob from Merit.
Here comes Bob on the point. Winnow's going to get unleashed, and that Bob isn't going to survive long, I wouldn't imagine. Cardiac Overdrive just sustained through this dynamite damage. Kai's already taking care of the Bob and RuPaul. A swift headshot from the Cassidy. Going to make sure they take down that backline, but here comes someone, a punch into the wall, and well, someone of Merit just forming a pincer maneuver on Kai there as he just falls on over. Merit just unperturbed on the high ground, just completely understand, like, how do you even get rid of this guy? Kai is just trying to look every which way possible because someone is just hot on his tail. Doesn't want to give Kai any space.
Really doesn't, and that's why Vistola is actually going to go over to the Sigma now. The Sigma a little bit better to have that shield, but we also saw Vistola get no value from that cage, even just in that last fight. Vistola very well known for the Sigma, able to help protect one of these off angles for Kai to operate from. But Sugar Free is looking for another pulse bomb, gonna build one up in this next fight, and Vistola's already so low.
Already used the hands, post bomb from Sugar Free. Found success in 4, can he again? An aggressive roll by Kai, looking straight at RuPaul, but can't quite get him down. Sound barrier comes in from ENCE, post bomb from Sugar Free. An uncharacteristic miss there, but he does manage to stay alive. Hits the recall as Kai, once again, the focus for someone. Kai just not able to do anything. Like I said before, Sugar Free's making him look one way, someone the other. 99% for Toronto now as they're going to find the flip yet again. That Bob helping secure that point as ENCE are white.
First round going over to Toronto Defiant. A couple quick Doomfist punches to push that Sigma back. Really nice follow-up coming through though from Sugar Free. This is such a young talent as well. Someone we didn't get a chance to really see find the success we knew he could have during this time in the league. Now though, really able to live up to that potential on a team like Toronto Defiant. And also with just such an all-star background in his team to be able to boost him up.
Yeah, he was really him right before he turned of age in the Overwatch League. Everybody was saying he was the next Proper in a way. Before Proper really reached the league, like he was the next superstar North American DPS, the one that was going to blow the Overwatch League wide open. But now he really can in the OWCS, and you can see how much him and his team have had success. Toronto Defiant playing Zen on a ball. I don't mind this whatsoever. It's been a comp that's been used sporadically. It's really nice, but the problem is you get rotated on extremely quickly, and there we go. Ideally, you're like pocket, like an island, right, with Merit, Vega, and RuPaul, but if you've got quick rotations like this from ENCE, it's really tough to stay alive.
Well, there's great follow-up coming through from someone. Even though Vega kind of acted as the bait, someone is able to take them up on that offer, get those big picks. And this is one of the only points we can really see Wrecking Ball work. Of course, someone's going to try to do that.
Yeah, it's man-made talents and man-made tank picks. Someone can do it all, pretty much. Long have gone the days where tank players can only really play one role, right? The off-tank or the main tank. You're going to be better at one of them at some point. Someone really, just every single tank he's able to pick up, he finds exceptional success.
But Toronto haven't been able to find the flip yet. They're able to get some progress here. Maybe a pick onto Kai will help to open things up a little bit more, but the Wrecking Ball doesn't really have the same type of point presence as you would expect to have from something like the Sigma. So ENCE has had control of this point the whole time.
I mean, this is what this comp does too. Look at how much pressure they're putting on Master and Ghost in the backline. It is only someone and Sugarfree just running around them again. Different comp, same kind of style they want to play. They got mines, they got the pulse bomb. I mean, this Transcendence going to help them survive. Someone just hanging out right now.
He's waiting for the perfect opportunity to get the pounce on ENCE and drop that entire minefield. Mines are harder to take out now. You can kind of throw your body at them, but they're still going to deal a lot of damage.
There's them getting rocked. A little bit of damage, yeah, like you said, but no initial kill. Sky taking a face full of bullets there from someone who retreats back to his supports. A rotation here from Merit, Vega, and RuPaul now as they see ENCE approaching on their track line. Nice little rock, does hit RuPaul, but oh, that... I mean, there's nothing stopping Kai getting away with murder. Pops the overclock, hits Stu. Well, not even overclock, sorry, that's just the railgun. Doesn't need the ult, apparently. Toronto Defiant eventually gonna get taken down here. They get hurt a little bit. A few extra percentage points eked out. RuPaul falling early. It's a disaster for Toronto. They don't end up investing the Transcendence either. Know they can kind of come back, and they're gonna need a tool to deal with this flux.
Well, they got something really valuable out of ENCE, which led them to not have to use something like the Transcendence. Just take the eco push there. Masa Sound Barrier invested into that last fight. But you saw Kai able to get so aggressive and up in front of Merit's face because you just had the power of that Sound Barrier behind your sails. But now you got the Transcendence, the Nano, with targets on the other side here. Toronto can just use that Nano even just a little bit more defensively if they want to. Big pick! They get able to get the better of Ghost.
Got aggressive Vegas playing too. Here comes the flux. Where's it gone? Oh, deleted by Merit. Don't use that Transcendence any longer. Vega can basically throw that one in when he likes. Festola tried to turn that fight around, just didn't find anything, and Merit just picked him out of the sky.
Absolutely. And now that the flux is off the table too, I mean, we're looking at a point where this might just be final fight. Toronto Defiant can invest the Transcendence here, the Nano, everything, maybe even to be able to get yet another minefield out from someone. This is so dangerous too. Take a look at where someone's coming from, knock somebody out of this room.
Oh, Kai playing a bit of defense here with Merit on the sideline. He does end up getting Nano pushed away. 3 people looking at him, not through the window, but enough damage to send him packing. Here comes the ult though from Kai, ripping the overclock. Merit didn't stand a chance even with that nade, but that's a nice trade coming through. Someone just knocking him up, and well, that mag nade did the work. Pulse bomb from Sugarfree. Toronto Defiant still controlling the point. Losing members of their team, however, as ENCE, they do find that flip. Someone just inting in there, just getting a reset going. As ENCE try and hold on now.
Trying to hold on. They have the opportunity to use the Pulse Bomb as one way to be able to do that. Masa's also going to have another Sound Barrier. Really helpful to deal with Toronto Defiant's ultimate economy. Still haven't used the Transcendence yet. Not seeing a valuable enough opportunity to throw that ultimate into the mix. But this is final fight, so it's now or never.
Sugarfree forced a recall there, didn't want to take another bullet. Or another railgun. Ends up touching that point. Triggers OT. Pulse bomb comes in from Kempster. That's a big one. Transcendence coming through from Vega, the only healing source available now to Toronto Defiant. That sound barrier from ENCE might just see them through it. Merit on the sidelines here, but Kevster, the absolute demon on the sidelines, takes 2, almost 3 with him. His spot Sugar Free, but it is Kai that does the dirty work as ENCE tie up Busan.
Able to really play to their strengths there on that second round of Busan, playing around Vestola's Sigma, able to make really nice work of that duo of Kevster and Kai. That Sojourn is one of his best heroes. And with those sightlines, those flanks, Toronto Defiant not necessarily always being able to deliver a full lethal blow onto the team, ends up working in ENCE's favor, especially in the end there with some of those more heavy-hitting ultimates. But as we enter into this third point, we're going over to Mecha Base. This is a tricky one. You're gonna have to fight in some of these more close quarters environments. A little bit more cover to play around too when you take a look at the architecture of the map. But that's why we're gonna see a switch up here. No more Wrecking Ball on the table for Toronto Defiant. Someone switching over to the Mauga. You've got the Cassidy and the Genji to be able to beef that up too as ENCE try to stick to their tried and true.
Merit with the first blood though onto Martha. And like you were saying at the very top of this series as well, Rose, we know kind of what ENCE are going to be playing. Toronto Defiant, they're the team that can flex so heavily onto different compositions. And it's working wonders so far. Point unlocks. Toronto Defiant an almost team kill there. They claim the first cap.
They just swarmed him. Overwhelmed him with the force that you can have with the cardiac overdrive on top of just the insta-kill pressure of Merit and Sugar Free, able to clean up all of those picks.
Oh, here we go again.
Already into the thick of
Kev's on the wrong side of the team fight there, has to back off and join the rest of his squad. Vestola just left on a little island. As you're basically just seeing Sugar Free being an unpenetrable wall in front of ENCE, and then they're just isolating Vestola and just pushing him down. Toronto's aggression and their speed here is really being the Achilles heel of ENCE. It's really tough to set up Kai here for success.
Someone's just driving right into the enemy lines to be able to help out with that isolation too. But ENCE, they're able to come back with some tools of their own. Kevster now going to be on the Genji. One way to try to get into the mix of things with Sugar Free on the Genji too.
Oh, good, perfectly timed grasp there from Vestola. You see all that overhealth coming through. That window is going to aid in the kill of someone. Here we go. Is ENCE coming back in this map? Unless Sugar Free's got anything to say about it. Don't think he's going to be able to find anything. There you go. 2 taps, 2 kills for Kai at the very end.
That's going to be where Kai's going to find the most value. Vestola finally able to actually get in on the action, giving that valuable shield over to Kai so we can just have that major source of damage be a little bit more up close and personal. But Toronto, they're coming back in with so many ultimates into this fight. The cage to be able to pair with something like the blade. You've got the blade barrier. Very difficult to take out any of these things. So Masa sound barrier is going to have to be huge.
Really early. Just the Suzu there, but RuPaul has got the Kitsune rush, and you can see him trying to set up on this high ground, Rose. A really straight shot. However, Kai might have a better shot on the back line here. As the sound barrier comes through from Toronto's line to try and make sure they survive this oncoming onslaught of damage. Kevs has pulled out the blade, though, and it's easy pickings for the Genji. 40% of building now for ENCE as Toronto Defiant a team kill.
Wow, that was so expensive, but what a great reaction from Kai to use the Deadeye just to help try to push back this team after RuPaul used the Kitsune Rush. Now I'm gonna go over to the Baptiste himself. Has the option for the Immortality Field as with some really good burst healing, but this is also to help out someone who has switched over to the Ramatra.
Sugar Free's gonna have to go crazy, ends up whipping it out, however. Look at the boot, look at the peel. Spots the Lucio. Master a little bit too far up, and Ghost also falls to a similar fate. Now a run down from someone who's got the Fist of Laren, but I mean, look, oh, what a block with the rock, but Kevster appears out of nowhere. Kills someone. However, Toronto Defiant, they're still winning this fight. They're gonna be able to get the flip here.
A little bit of stall coming through, though. ENCE is able to come back, and Toronto Defiant have to give up this space.
Oh.
Kevster on the flank. Gets taken out by Merit.
And they can't get the flip either. It was so close to going over. That Kevster death is gonna cost them dearly. Oh, no grasp. He's waiting it out, trying to get an angle. Oh! Narrowly missing that shot onto the back line. But now it's Toronto Defiant in full control.
But ENCE can actually at least break out of here. They have the amplification matrix to help out with that just in case they need it. But coming down to the wire.
Big disengage from Toronto Defiant, using that Lucio speed boost to get out of there. And they're not going to peek. It's going to force ENCE to try and touch the point here. Toronto Defiant going to have to react as Kevster on there, and you can see now Toronto Defiant just letting that point go.
They don't want to play into this flux. They know that Vestola's going to have this soon, as well as both DPS ultimates.
Well, they've got the regenerative burst as well as that lamp to keep everybody alive in the front line. Vega hitting the sound barrier behind the shield, and now is their time to strike. Where now that grasp is Merit, just dashes behind the shield. A little roll and a smack kills Vestola, but here comes Kevster with a plate yet again. Swedish gift to Esports as Kevster finds 3 with the Genji blade, and ENCE with the latest sound barrier rolling over the Toronto Defiant. Sugar-Free the only one left standing. And it looks like it's going to be ENCE taking claim of Busan.
What a perfectly timed blade. That came up right as that sound barrier was expiring on Toronto Defiant. So Kevster found the almost perfect window of opportunity to let that go, get the picks he needed, and get ENCE that incredible victory.
Man, Kevster is just lights out right now on this Genji. If he can continue this blade, if he can continue the Genji up and just keep getting big multi-kills with the blades like this, I mean, they're looking at a 3-0 maybe, but Toronto Defiant, they won't be beaten down that easily, Rose. We're going to jump over to the desk. They're going to break down that map and then see where we're going to send us for the next one.
Thank you so much, and Negra, and I got caught in action there. Just patting the Winton.
Like the Winton.
That's
There's nothing wrong with
that's
that.
all right. Yeah.
I like Winton. Winton Overwatch.
We're here for it. We're here for it. We're also here for some fantastic Overwatch, and this was certainly a display of just that. Very early on in this series, round 1 here on Busan, it did look like ENCE is just getting counterpicked. It just looked like they didn't have the flexibility, and then towards the very end of round 2, things started to look up for them. And then on round 3, obviously, like they found their stride. They switched things up and showed us a flexibility that we might not have expected here, Jake.
Yeah, they look great. Honestly, I think Merit's hit scan on the 3rd map, it really struggled to have impact. I think it's really difficult to get past the Sigma on an immobile hero like Cassidy. I mean, Merit, one of the best to do it, but it's a tough matchup to play. I mean, we've only seen other teams win versus that matchup by cutting the hit scan entirely. And so I think, if anything, ENCE found a bit of an advantage there. This is a map, though, I will say, where round 1, Winston's a very, very effective hero. A lot of high ground to really utilize, but maps 2 and 3, they're just not effective for Winston. There's not enough high-low ground to play around. And so, yes, you win here, but I think this is, if anything, a particularly good map for ENCE, where the Sigma actually functions decently well on at least 2 of 3 points, gives them a fair fight. Now, I have to imagine with the success that someone did find on our lovable Winston hero, I've seen a Gibraltar pick on the cards. I don't actually know if that's the case, but if I'm Casares, I'm 100% going Gibraltar. I watched NRG get the win on this map and think, yeah, we can. If you can do it, I can do it better.
Absolutely. I agree with that Gibraltar pick, but looking at this series as well, Toronto Defiant, they can learn from this. They saw, especially here on Mecha Base, I think Vestola, he peeled back beautifully, extracting resources from the Brawl composition. And so you saw ENCE Esports, they started out on the high ground, they started pressuring Toronto Defiant in those choke points, trying to get resources out. And then Vestola would just keep backing towards that bridge area, which allows Kevster to take the wide angle as well, or dive deep with Genji into the backline and put pressure on Merit, like you said, Jake. So I think it was beautifully played by ENCE Esports, especially with that Sigma composition. The way they withdraw from the fight, they get resources out, and then they pounce on you when you're already pushed in.
Yeah, because early on in the series, it was very clear that the big strength here for Toronto Defiant was their aggressive play. They were just dictating when and where to take those fights. So for the opposition of ENCE here to, take a step back and let them come in and trap them there was a really, really great adjustment. Now, big question, of course, where are we heading? It is going to be Toronto Defiant's map pick. You want to see Gibraltar here, Jay?
There's no.
I put my money on Gibraltar. If it's not
sure.
Gibraltar, I'll be really surprised. There's an option, maybe if they have like a hybrid they think is going to be really, really dominant. But for me, Gibraltar's the obvious choice. I feel really, really confident. Yeah,
there you go.
Winston,
And again,
just a Winston map.
Yeah, exactly. Just to recap for the audience who might not be familiar, Vestola primarily likes those Brawl heroes or the Sigma composition, whereas Toronto Defiant, of course, with someone exceptional Winston player. And so this map, because it is so good for the dive compositions, it really does favor Toronto Defiant. And so it's no surprise to see them go towards these high ground maps.
So on the other side here of ENCE, then, what do you see them doing? Do you think they're just gonna is that a toss away? Are they just going to stick to those brawl or slash rush compositions? Or do you feel like they have to try and match them in the Winston?
I think
mean, is that a good idea against someone? I don't think so.
what we've seen from them before is playing D.Va and Baptiste. And honestly, for people at home, like if you wanted to match a Winston dive and you're not confident on the Winston, not confident on the Ana, D.Va Bap, I mean, this style definitely works. It's pretty decent, but for me at this level of the game, Winston is way too good, and when it's really executed to this maximal perfection that we can expect from a team like Toronto Defiant, I don't really think it's possible to compete. Frankly, I think this is like an 80-20 comp matchup at the elite professional level. But I think, I mean, to be honest, this D.Va Bap with Kevster's explosive Genji, it's not easy to do, but if anyone can do it, I mean, I believe in Kevster. I mean, he finds incredible openings, sometimes without much support from the team. I mean, sometimes he's that one-man army. You know better than most, John.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree, but looking towards the rest of the series too, like Hybrid, Push, Flashpoint, these are all good map types, I feel like, for ENCE as well. They can get familiar with those map types. So even though we very much favor Toronto Defiant on this particular map, Gibraltar here in Escort, I think this is still going to be a really competitive series throughout.
Absolutely. Well, we'll find out what both of those teams have in store for us in just a little bit. But for now, we're heading back over to our casters to set the stage for this. We are winning Gibraltar here.
Thank you very much, Desk. Yes, we're going to Watch Point Gibraltar now for our Escort map. Rose, Toronto, you know, thinking ahead a little bit here, it seems.
They really are, though, because when you take a look at that Escort pool, you see Circuit Royale and you go, oh, Sigma map. May as well deny that opportunity for ENCE to potentially better the win rate that they have on Escort right now, which is 17%. Not looking so great, but if you allow them to pick Circuit Royale on their own map pick, then you're giving them a huge boom.
Yeah, it feels like a really smart decision to go here. You can play dive. Someone can play ball if he wants to. He can play Winston. I'd imagine the Winston, unless they want to just do some sort of variation of the rush, but Winston and dive is just so good on this map. Not the game type as well, but definitely the strongest here. Yeah, all right, let's go. Map number 2 coming up. It's ENCE. It's Toronto Defiant. ENCE taking the lead fairly early, taking Busan, as we load into map number 2 here in the lower brackets.
When you think about their map pools, you definitely expect that Toronto Defiant are going to have the upper hand. Watch Point Gibraltar is a very classic dive map. A lot of teams liking to rely on the Winston. Sometimes we see teams like Space Station Gaming maybe like not play the Winston dive, maybe opting to play even just the Reinhardt with the Symmetra. So we've seen teams do it before, not match a dive on this map, but it's going to be so difficult to not do that when you know that someone is waiting for you with that Winston. So the Dust talked about this. Maybe just lean into the D.Va with the BAP. D.Va Kiriko.
Got to be pretty scared as well of Kevster's Widow. Gates unlocked. What can Kevster show us today on the Widowmaker? Not sure it's going to be too much. Maybe he just goes for a quick swap, but he plays super far back. Oh, he's actually jumping over to Echo here, just aiding in the dive. Vestola and Kai. Going to be a hard-fought battle, though, against Merit on Cassidy, who's already holding this high ground. Can retreat to blue box if he wants to as well.
Vestola's a really good D.Va, so you're going to see these opportunities for Vestola to try to work with these dive units. But as Toronto have this high ground control, that's really have to force them to make their own agency. Force them down to the cart, which is why they're going to just play down here at the moment. Let Toronto come to them.
Yeah, getting it through the car wash is normally quite difficult. If you can force them all the way back like this, it should be pretty easy. Oh, that was 2 quick kills there from Toronto, just eliminating the backline off screen. If they can get this D-Mech would be large. So they're so low. Should have enough Matrix here to survive. In fact, it will be a quick, swift step in the Suzu from Ghost to keep him up.
Vestola is at least giving a lot of healing opportunity over to both Masa and Ghost to help work up to those ultimates just a little bit faster. For RuPaul Vega, they're playing such a defensive backline. It's going to be very difficult for Vestola to actually find an opening to dive onto either of those targets. We've got a shield bash waiting to go, a Sleep Dart.
You just get bullied if you're the D.Va there, unfortunately. Even with the Matrix, it's so hard to get stuff done. The biggest thing you're doing right now is probably looking into either nade, either sleep, or eat some damage that's flung towards Kevster's way. Oh, nice mag nade there from there. I mean, all the damage thrown at both Kai and Kevster. This is a mountain to climb by the looks of it for ENCE. Half the time-max gone already. They might be able to get D-max. They do.
That's a big deal. Means that Vestola's gonna have to give up all of that charge to try to switch to another hero and come back. Look at that. Gives up a lot of momentum there just to be able to get back out of spawn a little bit faster. Sub 2 minutes now for ENCE to try to capture this first objective in Toronto Defiant. They're not giving up an inch. Still with this high ground control, Merit having the Deadeye making that even more difficult to assail.
Merit is immortal on this high ground. Tries to honor duplication. Vega pops the rally back. Has been antied by the Duke Honor. They've got to try and find something here. They eventually kill Merit, and this free nano boost from Kevster might just be good enough and to get the payload going again. 1 minute and 30 seconds to go now as they around this final corner and have that round circle, that letter A in their sights. But the nano boost from RuPaul is going to make it a little bit more difficult than they wanted.
Yep, big contest coming through here from Toronto.
3 minutes to go, Rose. The guy's already dead. A D-Mech on Vestola. The perfect re-engage from Toronto Defiant. Merit does end up falling, but I think someone's just done enough damage. The bubble to block off all the healing. A little stagger potentially on Kevster too. Not quite. Sugar Free wants to end it right there. 1 minute to go. Toronto Defiant looking like they're going to hold this first point.
The ultimate investment from ENCE was really good there. They had to throw 3 things, though, at that last fight in order to even get close to being able to touch that first objective. All the while, Toronto, they took those L's really quickly. They were able to come back in with that nano boost from RuPaul. That meant that there was too much survivability there from someone, so that ENCE just couldn't have anything else to throw at that. Still, looking for something else to help push them over this line. As there's only 30 seconds left, this is going to be ENCE's final shot here if they don't do it now, and Vestola's going to get D-Max before he has the ult!
There's nothing left. Sugar Free's dead. They do end up trading, but it doesn't matter. Rally. Sugar Free's going to come back with Pulse Bomb. Is that it? Is that all ENCE can muster on this first point? Vestola's going to come back in just a moment. Kevster, Kai, they're going to have to keep it alive, but a sleep onto Kevster's dupe and a quick kill by RuPaul. Only a second remains. The Toronto Defiant are holding strong on this first point.
That last second contest with 30 seconds left was so good from Toronto to fight that nano boost, just sealing the deal there for them to be able to keep that defense alive. The full hold comes through on Watch Point Gibraltar. ENCE having to match that is going to be a tall ask.
Only takes a couple of clean fights, and the issue there for ENCE too, the fights weren't exactly clean. When they did end up winning them, it was extremely scrappy, and they weren't able to kind of press the issue, press that advantage. And 83 meters, we'll basically call it first. The payload was pretty much there. Toronto Defiant, you can see why they wanted to come here and take away a choice from ENCE too, like you were talking about at the very top.
Yeah,
Not giving them a chance to go to a map they maybe prefer, like Circuit.
Yeah, well, exactly. If you give them the opportunity to pick the escort, they pick the best escort in the pool for them. So may as well take that away, pick Gibraltar, pick the Winston map, and make ENCE have a lot of difficulty with this one. Look, ENCE, actually, they don't even want to play the dive here when they come out on the defense. They're going to have the Ramatra.
Yeah, going to play Rush with May. We'll see if Toronto have any idea this is going on. We'll get a quick listening.
아니 폴스 포인트
Yeah, yeah.
배가 리얼리 해피 포인트
Yeah.
아빠 있어.
touch point. May.
Okay. After wall goes down I'm gonna nade, okay?
Mesa.
계속 람다포
May no block.
Don't start give okay
Can't
don't
take
okay
3, 2, nade.
wait
Ramp point. Shooting ramp. Ramp no shit on point.
안 플랍해 슛라
Shooting ramp. Ram low. Shoot ramp.
push ramp
Ram one. Nice.
Wait, take our. Cast us.
됐다 왜 위지트 블락 here 언더 대건너고 롯데
Yeah, you guys do it.
You can block out in.
Okay.
It's as easy as that for Toronto Defiant to break that spawn hold from ENCE. They called out the nade instantly, then that's a big nade. Huge lamp from Ghost, but they're also low. Regenerative burst and a couple of right clicks on the floor should see them through this initial bit of damage. But look at this, Sugar Free with a sting. Kai dead. Toronto Defiant taking ENCE to the slaughterhouse.
It was the best effort that they could give, though, with that close hold. And they're still giving it all they've got with this Mei, helping to stall out this card just a little bit. But as you heard the comms, Toronto calling out all of those cooldowns to keep this defense alive from ENCE and punish them as soon as they are off the board. And with that, yet another clean fight win for Toronto, and one more away from being able to take this map and even up our series.
Look at those ults from Toronto Defiant as well, and look at someone playing in the spawn. Oh, I've got Primal Rage, don't you worry about it. Oh, don't you worry about the payload either. We've got it. Toronto Defiant locked that map in with ease.
Just easy as that. You call it 1, 2, 3. Get the nades, get the pounce, get the Tesla cannon picks. It's all as simple as that for Toronto Defiant.
You wouldn't have guessed that there, Matt PK. One apiece now in this lower bracket. Loser here does go home. Like we said before, a couple of maps ago, NA and EU, they've been just at each other's throats this whole time. Some of the only games that haven't been pure sweeps here, and this isn't exactly looking like a sweep. Well, if Toronto Defiant repeat that performance, maybe it will be. But look, Busan end up taking it, and Toronto Defiant picking a map they know they can excel at. Festola just unable to get much stuff done on the D.Va at all. Even the Ram too, he rolled out on the Ram and the Mei, and Toronto Defiant snipped it out. I was like, okay, well, we'll nade, we'll bubble. Like, yeah, it's over.
Well, it's so unfortunate because even on their first attack push, Festola actually had an opportunity to potentially even get back into the mech. That D.Va ultimate not coming online quite in time, but that's where you saw that D-mech a couple of fights ago really come back to bite them, having to actually go back in, spawn, change heroes, and come back out.
There you go, a little speed run from Toronto Defiant and watch point Gibraltar. We'll jump over to this desk though. They'll break that one down.
Yeah, well, Jack, not too much to break down here. That was a quick one, and it went pretty much exactly like we expected when we were setting this one up. Gibraltar is where Toronto Defiant took us. They got to play their game there, looking good on that Winston. Festola's D.Va just couldn't quite get the job done there.
I mean, he's a great D.Va player. He's one of the best in the
Absolutely.
world, but I think it just proves that it's not a winnable matchup at this level of play. I mean, number one, I think, is honestly Brig, right? Like, as a D.Va, you can eat a lot of those Ana cooldowns. You could eat some of the Tracer damage. Cassidy, you can deal with him too, but Brig just feasts on you as D.Va, permanently proccing that heal for your teammates. Every time you fly, you're getting booped away. At least as Winston, you can drop the bubble, sometimes block Brig's heals. You could block her shield bash with the bubble. D.Va just has no favorable interactions in that matchup, and honestly, for a player like Vega, it's easy pickings.
Yeah, I mean, also, when you put someone like Kai on Tracer, who's mostly known for hitscan as well, it's just a suboptimal composition. I like the idea maybe of putting Kevster on the Echo is also another hero that he's really strong at, and maybe if you're thinking, well, we're going to play D.Va, which puts a lot of pressure onto our Winston, maybe we'll play Echo too, which also puts a lot of pressure onto the enemy tank as well. But, you know, this just wasn't the map for ENCE that you're looking towards. And now I'm looking towards the next maps in the pool, right? I don't really, if I'm a player on ENCE as well, I'm not like really into this match. I'm not just like overreacting to this match. Like, oh, like I feel like you should have won this one. No, of course not. Like this is a map you know that you're not really strong at. Mentally, you look forward towards the rest of the series. Beautiful on-nade here from RuPaul when the rotation comes in from ENCE Esports, trying to take that high ground. So, you know, flawless play by Toronto Defiant. That's what we expect from them. But now looking forward, are we going to see Numbani? That is the big question for me. It is the map that ENCE picked against Falcons. And remember, that was a very competitive Numbani where Kevster had that phenomenal back cap, of course, which, you know, a bit of a failure on Falcons' part. So I don't know how much credit you want to give to Kevster. But it was a really competitive Numbani. It went into overtime. Both teams ended up capping Numbani. So now, on that map, you could potentially, as I say that, it was all for nothing, Jay.
You know, I was going to say this is
I
for me.
love where you tried to go with this one, but we're
really
going to
tried.
Bright Town instead.
They were competitive with Falcons. You can put Sigmas on the high ground. It's gonna they're playing Midtown.
Sorry.
All right.
I mean, this is the other Sigma map in the pool. I mean,
True.
this is really the Sigma, the most, I think, dominant Sigma map. I think this is actually a pretty tough map to play Winston for Toronto Defiant. I don't think the same tricks are going to work again. That being said, I think Toronto, they could like to go with the Sigma mirror. They could try and bring out maybe a faster rush style, maybe with the Mauga. One hero I do want to see, we talked about this on Busan, how, okay, Festola keeps pulling back with that Sigma. He's kiting you out. he's farming out your resources and you can't ever really threaten him because he's positioning so well. I'd love to see Sugar Free actually bring out the Mei. If you want to keep Merit on hit scan, that's a way to actually isolate Sigma and turn what would have been just this unstoppable wall into a legitimate kill target by cutting off Sig from his supports, Mei's damage unblockable through kinetic grasp. I think this is actually potentially a really, really good matchup for Toronto. If you want to play a rush style, if you want to confirm lock-in hit scan, then Mei is another way to put a ton of pressure on Vastola and really punish him for his hero pool.
Yeah.
I mean, we've definitely seen a lot of teams taking different approaches to Midtown in general. Iliari is definitely something we've also seen. I see Jack's face lighting up
to get all the
here
in
with
there.
joy. Interested, of course, the series 1-1 right now, so everything is still up for grabs as they are fighting for their tournament lives. Jack and Rose, how are we feeling about Midtown?
I love Midtown.
I don't want to see his Ilari. That's what I don't want to see.
Ilari goes crazy on Midtown. Probably the only map you can really play Ilari right now, to be fair.
Well, that's why we see students the game on it. Yeah, Ilari,
exactly.
Lifeweaver.
I wish you could play it on more maps, honestly, but it's just too easy to isolate, sadly. I don't think we'll see it here. If we do, I'll be one happy boy, but we'll have to wait and see what Toronto Defiant want to pull out here. Of course, ENCE, Rose, they got flattened on Watch Point Gibraltar. We're going to jump into Midtown, though. Map number 3 here in the lower brackets. Loser goes home. Toronto Defiant want to continue their speed run.
But you heard it from the desk. Watch Point Gibraltar, not necessarily a map that ENCE were ever expected to win. They still had an opportunity to put a good fight out there, but look forward to the next one. Look forward to the birds. More birds on Midtown.
Do they just keep adding more birds every single match? I've never seen those birds. When were they under the Pizza Bowl?
Maybe that's just the Pride.
Yeah, they updated the Pride one and they added
with more birds.
Midtown with more birds.
That's going to be the next April Fool's patch, you know, just for you.
Yeah. God, that'd be terrifying. Eric, once again, locking this Ash Rose. Something we mentioned on Busan, it's not really seen a whole bunch. If you can play this at very extended range, it's super clean. Cassidy, a bit more favorable, a bit more survivable, and the Magnate is very annoying to play around if you're like a dive hero. But when you have a backline with like RuPaul and Vega on the break in the back, so hard to deal with.
It is very difficult to deal with, but maybe one way you can do that, just run at it. That's why we're going to see ENCE actually switch off of the Sigma that Vastola is so well known for and think about this Ramatra to attack this first point. You've got the Lucio behind you. Masa can make those rotations much faster, and you have the shield from Vastola to at least also help make sure you're not taking too much poke from something like that Ashe. But they're taking a train car approach to this first point.
Yeah, they really want to get someone off of this high ground and just set Kai up with a nice angle. Sometimes it's kind of frustrating to duel the Ashe as the Sojourn. She can routinely just pop shots and you have to go for one of those charge up railgun shots, but that's a good first kill for ENCE. Pushing in, pushing onto someone, popping the Nemesis form and just clocking him. Now the Mega Health Pack room is where Toronto Defiant will scurry to. However, look at the speed, the aggression from ENCE. Vega is in a whole heap of hurt here. Just shoved in the fridge, pushed out of the room. And there we go, that should be the first point. I'm started capping, however, for these late kills should almost guarantee it.
God, that was a huge immortality field from Ghost, though. While everybody was hunkered down in that small room, that immortality field able to keep everybody alive, allowed Kai to be able to get such a big pick and Kevster to follow up that damage as well. So even though it took a little bit while to get off the ground, you do have this first point capture going the way of ENCE. They unlock this payload and they can start to get the ball rolling. And so much to work with. Ghost being alive with all of that burst healing as well has been able to net him this amplification matrix. Not a bad way to be able to try to pressure Toronto off of this high ground or even just help boost up some of this damage here from Kai. Annihilation on the board too. Honestly, ENCE is going to have everything to throw at this next fight as someone has also switched to the Mauga. Big switch up here for Toronto to try to deal with this Ramatra mano a mano.
Yeah, just waiting for that amp speed, waiting for the payload to get a little bit of distance here, then potentially push this high ground. See, slowly but surely, Kevster is moving the bot as Vastola takes an off angle. Still building towards that Annihilation, 5% away. Quite easy to get damaged in though against the Malva. No shield there, so.
Yeah, RuPaul too actually has the amplification matrix to answer to Ghosts when that gets laid down. But this card has been making progress this entire time. Already going to be underneath this tunnel as we now see everything get let loose.
Yeah, there's the annihilation. Unfortunately, Kev's forced to recall, but he's having his own little 1v1 in the tunnels. But it's Festola that ends up going down. That sound barrier from Barca not quite saving the frontliners. And, well, Kevster, like I said, wasn't really in that fight at all. Was having to duel Sugar-Free. Both pulse bombs in the hands. Just want to be able to join the team fight, pop the pulse bomb, then run back to the payload. But, unfortunately, Kevster couldn't play aggressively in that recall.
It's going to be tough now for Toronto Defiant to actually get taken off of this high ground too. Vega's going to have this rally. One of the advantages of having the Brigitte, not necessarily Lucio, is that you can actually take these brawls a little bit better knowing that you have that extra rally health. And it's going to get popped now in response.
Really nice boot there from Vega. You see the whip shot come out as soon as that railgun goes overclock. Pulse bomb, it connected. Oh, and it connected with Festola. The perfect target for Toronto Defiant there. The guy trying to get round Mauga, just somehow just weaving around him and attempting to get shots in, but Toronto Defiant, they're going to stand tall. That pulse bomb from Sugar-Free couldn't have been better.
Kevster's on 1 HP. Someone please heal him.
Hello.
Okay, all good. Able to get back to the team, gives over a little bit more healing over to Masa and Ghost as well, as ENCE now making another rotation. Festola over to the Sigma. They're using that annihilation and not getting much with it. Goes back to something that's a little bit more comfortable to deal with this Mauga. The shield gonna fare a little bit better to stop a lot of that incoming gun damage. But this card is so awkward because you have to figure out a way to actually pressure Toronto off of this. You're hoping maybe the amplification matrix is one way to help you, or just brute force your way through.
Merit's been farming damage to these mobs. Are coming up so rapidly. Good stick onto Vega. Better lamp though from RuPaul, saving the Brig. Here comes the sound barrier in amongst that cage. Oh! By the way, Kev's stealing the bot the whole time. ENCE, they come at us, bro. No problem. Kevster and Sugar-Free just deciding not to 1v1 there as Kevster just steals the bot. Merit unable to even throw the bomb out either. Everyone just piled onto that corner and Kevster took perfect advantage of it and just stole it away from him.
If it was anybody I would expect to do that, it's Kevster to do it twice in the Dallas Major so far. Kevster, though, going to switch to the Genji. A little bit better in these vertical areas that you have on this third point, but yeah, Bob not being used in that last fight means that they do have it now. It's a little bit more of an insurance policy to have as this payload to get ever closer to that final point. But here's the amplification matrix first from Ghost, as everybody just kites away from it from Toronto until you see this gravitic flux.
Oh, they catch two, and those picks are so separated too. That lamp had to go one way or the other, and it did not go someone's way. They used it to save Merit in the end. Merit gets the ball off, but I mean, the bob's going to get insta-killed. They focus it down perfectly, and ENCE just continue this payload going. Vega's on the point. Had to use that bash to get out of there. Pops the rally, trying to save RuPaul, but Sugar-Free with this overhealth might be the difference maker with this pulse bomb, but Vega just permanently under 50% HP as ENCE springboard back into this fight.
It's a slow burn, but ENCE are continuing to whittle away at this card progress. Kai with overclock too, he just wants to wait for those sights to line up.
Pulse bomb going wide too. I mean, Sugar-Free needed to connect that onto Kai. Here comes the overclock. Escort service by Festola here as he walks Kai around this sideline. She's trying to get an angle on the back line. Vega taking a railgun shot to the chest, ends up bashing away and using their own window as sort of a pseudo cover. No one's going to pick that at your end. You can see them kind of lining up behind this large pillar, but now is the time to strike. A beat into the back line as Kevster spots his prey. A rock onto Merit, but he still stands tall. Kevster with a nice little deflect kill onto Merit there. A final Sharkin landing directly in his skull. And ENCE are going to push on forward. Kevster with 2 kills already in this fight. A small position is good for Toronto Defiant here, and Kevster's keeping them in this fight, but it's taking too long to end.
Taking way too long to end, which means that all of these respawns from Toronto Defiant are going to overwhelm the rest of the forces here from ENCE. They've got to go back to the drawing board. They held onto this blade. It is going to be over a minute left in the clock for them to still try to get that extra little bit of meterage. The amplification matrix, one great way to be able to open up this fight. And then the blade and the gravitic flux too. Pretty powerful combination on board here for ENCE, but they're going to have to get through this rally from Vega that's coming up very shortly.
Yeah, 1 minute to go, like you mentioned. This lamp cannot go wide here if you're Ghost. You have to just be patient with it. Patient he was. Everybody crashes back down, but it's actually Ghost that ends up getting taken out by Merit in the skies. 30 seconds, ENCE need to find a reset here, but look at the low health on their entire roster. Master and Vestola chase down, and Sugar Freeze trying to make it a little bit more difficult for them to come back, but Kai narrowly escapes with his life.
He does, but that's the important thing. They get a chance to attack this once again as a full team of 5. But for Masa to come back out means that they do have a huge potential to get in here quickly. And they still have all those tools to work with. Only getting the Gravitic Flux out of Toronto is still one less ultimate to have to worry about as the clock starts to wind down.
Oh, Merit on the sidelines too with the Bob. Do they know? I don't think so. Bob through the window, and now you have to deal with him and Merit on a flank. Vestola just isolated. Bob just doing so much work there for Toronto Defiant. And there's the payload. Stopped just before third. ENCE didn't see that one coming one bit.
But Bob, such a great tool to split up the team, split up their focus. They had the rally on top of that too, which made it easy pickings to go after the side that you wanted to the most. Fantastic way for Toronto Defiant to end that map, but ENCE still made that payload go very far. Almost hit the finish line for their attack push.
Well, the map will end here. That is exactly what we know right now, at least. ENCE now get their chance to attack. I'm really liking Merit. How is that possible? What dev is in the audience right now making sure they put more pigeons in the mid dev?
The next April Fool's patch will be more pigeons, and you can use them as Overwatch heroes. I don't know, throw them, hey, see, look!
The audience agrees.
Throw
The
them at
audience
people.
definitely agrees with that. God.
The bullets are
Instead
pigeons
of the
now.
googly eyes, it's just like a pigeon hat
Yeah.
or like a pigeon mask.
All the pigeon cosmetics. It's your worst nightmare. Take a look at ENCE on the defense. Kevster going over to the May. Really survivable hero, and also we're going to make these close quarter fights just a little bit harder if you see the match. Something that Des talked about. Kevster very good at this May pick, able to help create a little bit more territory for ENCE to work around with. But look at this. Toronto Defiant maybe pulling their best Space Station gaming look right now, as someone's going to be coming out on the Reinhardt.
Yeah, a little cosplay. Wrap around, onto the point. Exactly their game. I mean, ENCE have so much experience, though, against this comp, right? Playing Space Station
sure
gaming
do.
over in EU. Lamp used pretty early by RuPaul. What a shot by Ghost, taking down Sugar Free. And look at this. A fight in the laundromat. Exactly where you want to be. Oh my word, you're not going to survive that, unfortunately, even with that giant Rhine hammer. You see someone, only 20% ult charge. You're expecting him to have like 50, 60 if he was swinging that whole time, but he's trying to hold the shield, protect the rest of his team, maybe helping Merit secure kills, but not to be. ENCE collapse and crush it.
And still is able to take these really long off angles too with Kai on Sojourn. Have a little bit more one-shot potential with those charge-up railgun shots. But you're looking at Toronto taking a different approach to things now. Don't want to go to the laundry. They're going to see where ENCE are coming from and actually just bamboozle and go underneath the car.
Yeah, they're just going to go directly under. More of a default route to take. They know Vestola is off of the high ground right now, but she's taking a lot of damage. Just jumping there. There is a small little gap. You can kind of shoot someone's feet under there.
They're taking a lot of time.
They are. 2.5 minutes to go. Vestola gets fingernated, but it's a Kai looking for this off angle here. Disrupt shot in the doorway. 3 HP. Narrowly escapes. Oh, and look at that. That wall is perfect. RuPaul gets isolated. A perfectly placed wall by Kevster stops him from rejoining the rest of his team. They do end up killing Ghost, but not sure it mattered all too much. Merit on the high ground. A very scrappy affair so far. As Merit trying to take names and numbers as Toronto Defiant. They're trying to move towards that point. Look at someone's HP. It's all the Merit show right now. Muscle with the Cheerios. Can't get it done. Oh!
Dropping the bag. Deserved, I think, though, that he's able to actually earn the first point there for Toronto Defiant. Breaks through such a difficult hold that ENCE had. Any of those close quarter fights going the way of ENCE so far, but Toronto Defiant opening up this payload. ENCE falling so quickly, though, means that they aren't able to get very forward position on the second point defense. And they have so many tools to work with. Kevster, though, goes down with a blizzard.
Man, Kevster got popped there. Yeah, you can see the game plan there was keep the corner, whoop, throw the Blizzard out, and hopefully find some kills. But, I mean, Merit, he's the sheriff of this town. Kai popping the overclock, but he does not care. My God, he is lights out. Just give it to him. Let him hang, Merit.
Merit's just another day in the office. Look at that. No smile, no nothing. So cool, calm, and collected as they gear up for this next fight. Toronto taking the high ground away from ENCE. Still unable to use the Blizzard or the Flux. Here comes the Flux, though.
That is so
It's gonna get
Can
nobody.
they actually catch anybody? They stick on the doorway. Yes, it can. Another beautiful wall by Kevster, but now they're locked in here with a Blizzard. Sound barriers on either side. They need to come out, but Vegas, I think that may have been an AG. I'm not entirely sure, but ENCE, they're going to just clean it up here with the help of Kai. Merit eventually shut down. The wall comes up from Kevster again, isolating someone. They eventually slay him. They've stopped the payload, but for how long?
I really like the game plan, though, from Toronto Defiant. The fact that they're able to freeze through the Blizzard. They use the amplification matrix once everybody in ENCE was also caught up by that. But we're going to see Sugar Free switch over to the Tracer, so no more Mei. That side, someone's still sticking to the Ramacha. The Annihilation coming up for them very quickly. But 2.5 minutes left for them to try to make some progress on the second point. And look at that, Sugar Free actually trying to push the pressure. That payload is moving. Finally, ENCE sniff out what's happening here, but maybe not before Sugar Free's able to get away.
Great so much space though, look. I would just take this high ground. Master and Kevster just chase Sugar Free through a recall. Managed to claim the kill too. Now they have to fight this high ground. Walls so no one can escape. Unfortunately there, Merit rolled on top of it after getting boomed up into the sky. And I think that aided him more than it actually hindered him. The Annihilation from someone going to rip and tear him on this high ground. 1 minute and 40 seconds to go for Toronto. And they got firm control of this payload now.
Give them a much better vantage point to be able to get those picks. Well, they can. They've got the Deadeye. They're also just going to be able to push them all back here.
Speed boost, Deadeye, dodges the rock. There's the grass, pushed out of it. Oh, eventually slain. 2 meters to go. Kevster's got the touch here, so they don't get a free cap. But he's need to perform a miracle at this point to keep him alive, and maybe a miracle is what he's seen in his future. RuPaul ends up going down, but someone in Sugar Free eventually come back. Another scrappy affair on this point. It's only Vega, the Lucio player, just trying to dance, trying to get that 1 meter in. Eventually they claim the point again and secure it, but look at how close it is. 1.16 meters. And just a miracle that they managed to come back in that one. But now they have to deal with this sound barrier coming through from Vega. If they go fast here, Rose, it could be all over.
Not a bad strategy for Toronto, though, to try to give enough time for this payload to make its way to that checkpoint before having to use anything. But now they have ultimates in order to ensure that it's going to be able to get the job done. And don't have the sound barrier up quite yet. Kai has the overclock so that he can shit now, but you do have the sound barrier that Vega's held on to.
Now they're just going to dodge away from this overclock. Kai finding a nice couple of angles here, but is still scared to peek that window. Sound barrier coming through from Vega and Master at the same time there. So both beats utilised, and it's up to Sugar Free to put pressure on this backline. A nice little boop onto Ghost, and someone follows it up with a kill. A little haymaker there, knocking Ghost for 6. And Sugar Free chasing down Master. A nice little cherry on top with the stick too, but Bestow's arms were crisscrossed. He managed to survive that pulse bomb, but with not much health remaining. There's the point. And Toronto have victory in their sights now, but they haven't got a lot of time to do it in.
Not a lot of time, but maybe exactly what they need is someone who's going to have that Annihilation up soon for this next fight. Ghost, though, with his amplification matrix, might be able to help turn the tides in ENCE's favor. But these team fights need to be clean, they need to be fast, these eliminations need to also be swift if Toronto Defiant want to make it through with this time bank. A minute's not a lot left to work with.
Not a lot of time at all, Rose. Here comes the window. Deadly in the right hands. And Kai is those hands, most definitely. Fully charged railgun. Oh, but Merit takes down Ghost. He's on a nice little angle. Oh, the double tap onto Kevster is disgusting. That lamb is going to save him. Is there nothing this man can't do? Stone cold killer. Face with zero emotion. Blood running through his veins, as hot as anything. I mean, there is nothing that can stop Merit when he is on fire like this.
But he knows the job isn't done just yet. He's gonna try to push the advantage just a little bit forward, but there's only one more fight that Toronto Defiant need in order to take this map and take the lead in the series.
Time to step right up, that high noon being pushed forward with that speed boost. A blue box of victory in their sights as the Annihilations are pulled on the point. Both Rams staring at each other, but the sound barrier from Vega might just be the one to do it. A pulse bomb coming through from Sugar Free in just a moment as Nestola's health bar is getting torn apart. However, the Master Sound Barrier comes in just in time. A Hail Mary pulse bomb goes wide as OT ticks down as ENCE come up clutch. Master Sound Barrier saves them at the final hurdle as ENCE secure the map.
That came down to the wire there. Toronto Defiant just not able to put enough pressure onto that defense of ENCE in order to bully their way through. The respawn's too much for them, and then that sound barrier at the end from Masa, as you put it, just the final nail in the coffin for them to be able to secure that defense and the map. They're gonna lead the series right now.
So clutch there at the very end to keep Vestola alive in that Annihilation. Pretty hard to take down a Ram when he's crossing his arms like that with all that extra armor and whatnot, but Master coming in clutch. I mean, Sugar Free's pulse bomb, if that connected, maybe they turned that one around as well, but it was such a Hail Mary, and Ghost almost predicted that one as well. You can see him kind of backing up as soon as he saw Sugar Free getting close. ENCE on match point now, 2-1 in the series. All tossed to the desk, they can break that one down and set us up for the next one.
We will indeed. Thank you so much, Necra and Jack, Jake and Johnny. What a series this has been. ENCE is playing this one so very close. In fact, they are now pulling ahead and are finding themselves on match point, heading into this map, or rather into the series as a whole. Merit, Jake, you said, is the player you're watching out for here, and not just because there's a lot of personal connection for you. It is the player you wanted to see popping off. That's exactly what he's been delivering.
I mean, I think he's one of the most exciting players in the game right now, and that's because of what he can do in matches. This guy pops off to another level sometimes in these clutch scenarios. I mean, that attack was like a 1v5. I mean, I think he got almost all 5 elims, all headshots, back to back to back. I mean, when this guy catches fire, he reaches a level that I've rarely seen any player in the history of the game attain and attain consistently. And so he's someone I'm very, very interested to watch as the series progresses. If he can continue to play at this level, I think Toronto Defiant, they might be down in the series, but I still have so much confidence in them.
Also, one thing I really like about Toronto Defiant, it's the playmaking that they're doing as well. We saw, for example, on the defense, Merit comes in clutch with a huge flank, putting the Bob, of course. And if you can keep those flanks going, if you can make plays like that, if you can be the aggressor and initiator in that regard, I think that's a really good sign. Because for the most part, did feel like ENCE was in control of that series. Kevster had a really good May. The blizzards, the walls made a big difference, especially as Toronto Defiant came out playing that Reinhardt composition. You saw the Kevster separated the tank from the backline, and that set up some plays. But even on point B, you know, the blizzard from Kevster, really good. So I do think that as Esports, they're kind of in control of this series now. Of course, this was their map pick after losing Gibraltar, so it's a map they're really comfortable on. But even if I'm Toronto Defiant now, we can't, like, in the post-game, Jake, talk about Merit 1 versus 5. I feel like it's for the rest of Toronto Defiant as well here, to come up clutch and start to figure out how do we deal with the compositions and what ENCE Esports are doing.
I'd love to hit on those compositions, actually. Let's go bigger picture here at what we saw, because there was a lot of counter-swapping happening.
I mean, to be honest, I think what this map showed me is that when Toronto doesn't have a decisive comp advantage and on Midtown, they're, for the most part, mirroring, like a little bit of Ram, a little bit of Sig, a few swaps here and there. I think Kevster's flexibility, I'm glad you hit that, Johnny, because I think, you know, when we talk about DPS flexibility as we have all tournament long, I mean, who better to represent that than Kevster? This guy's the original Hyperflex player, has been playing every DPS hero in the game for as long as I can remember playing against this guy. I mean, I think the May is one of those you don't see as often, but it's a vintage Kevster pick. He's elite on the hero. And when Toronto does not generate the advantage off of their picks, individual play-wise, ENCE is going toe-to-toe. They are no easy opponent. And so Toronto needs to keep that advantage going based on the strategy, based on the pick. That's their road to get a decisive win. If ENCE can just force things into a mirror, they've proven that they have what it takes to win the series.
Absolutely. Now, it is going to be Toronto's map pick. Obviously, We are now down to a lot fewer choices, if you will, for them. Is there any particular map you feel like they have their eyes set on? Anything they could really strategically pull out of the hat, which would give them the advantage?
I feel like you were probably leaning that you get more kind of value out of picking a push map here because there is some difference to the push maps. I'd shy away from Colosseo personally because that maybe opens the door for ENCE to play maybe a Sigma. We've seen some of the teams, they like to play the longer hit scan heroes on there. You know, they like to get onto the high ground of Colosseo, slow things down, and then find those opening picks before the opponent really has a chance to push into your territory, right? I do feel like maybe you want to go to an Esperanza here. It's a map we haven't really seen so far this tournament, but it's a map you're really comfortable on. And if memory serves me right, ENCE Esports is a map that they primarily played Chase on in the past, you know, especially in a very different meta back then because you actually were able to play stuff besides Mauga, for example. But I do feel like Esperanza could be a pretty solid pick here. Or, you know, we've seen a couple of teams like Space Station. They're happy to go to a flashpoint pick like New Junk City, for example, if you don't want to play Saravasa, which usually is the default.
I mean, I think Toronto, they're a very strategic team. I think they will go with the push map. I would pick Esperanza if I was in their position. I think that gives them the closest range engagement, the best option to run over Vistola, get him off Sigma, or at least if he's going to be on Sigma, he's going to have to cross difficult corners where, you know, it's super easy to get your backline just completely dominated, whether it's the Mauga, whether it's the Winston. Esperanza, I think, is the best Winston map of the push 3. And so if you wanted to bring it back to the Winston that's been so successful for you on Toronto Defiant, I think you go to Esperanza, even if it is the Mauga, whether they want to take it as with the May rush into the Sigma, whatever their strategic choice is, I think all in all, you're putting ENCE on the back foot, picking Esperanza. So that's what I expect to see.
And we haven't really seen the Mauga pick come out from ENCE Esports at all, right? So there's no guarantee that even if you go to Esperanza and maybe you're in danger of facing that Mauga, maybe it's not a composition that ENCE Esports want to play, right? But it does seem like after, especially map 1 and now Midtown as well, Toronto Defiant are happy to settle into that Ramajo composition. So maybe that's something they want to keep doing with some more minor adjustments. I just do think that Toronto Defiant, they have so many options here. I'd honestly like to see the Mauga, but if, again, it's not something they've really practiced going into this tournament, maybe they didn't expect Mauga to be that powerful. I'm not sure. Maybe they don't feel like they can be quite as aggressive as some of the Korean teams we've seen, who execute the overrun strat perfectly for you to go deep with the overrun, right? Maybe Toronto Defiant not as comfortable with those deep pushes. I feel like Esperanza should be the map pick here. It's overall been a really played map, and I think it would serve the compositions that we've seen from Toronto so far.
Right on. So that's what you guys want to see. You know what I want to see? You want to? That's what I want to see.
What is this pizza doing? They're eating the frame.
It's rough out here and the streets are real on Midtown.
How they got so much strength to break a bird pizza box?
Birds, Jaws.
What?
Wait,
I love how it's got the confetti too. Like,
they're celebrating the pigeons.
are they?
Yeah.
Do we really need to celebrate the pigeons? Really?
Yeah, we do actually. I mean, it is on Midtown, which is based on New York, and that's the biggest
There's a
pigeon
whole lot of
population
pigeons
of the
there, yeah.
world.
I
It
need Matt for a
exceeds
fact
1
check,
million
actually.
pigeons in New York.
I'm
actually.
surprised it's not like
Pigeon
Italy
facts
or
with
something. It's really not Italy? Or like
No,
Rome?
it's New York.
It's New York. We need Matt for a fact check, I think.
Go ahead.
He's not going to give me an answer at all.
No.
He's
He's
doing
never
like,
outside. He doesn't know.
You know, after that, I need to see someone make a pigeon fan cam.
like a fan edit.
Yeah, exactly. We need a pigeon
Now
fan
you've said it,
cam.
it's going to be real.
All right, yeah, I'm speaking into existence. Well, look at that though. We've got our next map in the series. Johnny was talking maybe about being able to see Esperanza, but we've got Colosseo push map coming up next.
All right, chosen by Toronto Defiant too. What do you expect we're going to see here from Toronto? Because ENCE, a bit more of a telegraph in terms of competition here. As we head into our 4th map. Still ENCE looking good. Toronto Defiant and ENCE EU versus NA. They've been slugfest so far, and this is no different.
Maybe what is different though is seeing Toronto Defiant in this position. This has been the hardest series for them so far in the tournament. And ENCE, they're sitting right now at the potential of sending them home. Cannot believe that this is maybe where Toronto Defiant's end could run, but this is their pick. This is where they believe that they can start to turn things around. And maybe it's all off the back of some Mauga.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, ENCE and Toronto, they're out the doors on the way to the bot. Mauga versus the Sigma. And Toronto, again, kind of picking the Mauga to try and counteract the Sigma comp. They want to just get behind him as quickly as possible.
But how easy is it going to be knowing that Kevster has picked up the Mei? This Mei going to be a great tool to isolate out this Mauga and even just be able to slow down some of that aggression.
They're going to have to go quickly, force out the wall first. There it is. Big cooldown already gone. Nice rock. I think Baker got hit by that rock there. Look at those headshots coming through from Merit, though. No lamp, no nothing is going to save you from that, unfortunately. Ghost Lamp going quite by the wayside there. As Kai just slides on in. Oh, Merit. His aim is crispy clean. Even on a bad day, he looks too good. Switching over to the Genji now, just foregoing the Mei completely. There's not many, I mean, in mid, you can definitely play a pick like that, but as it gets more wide and open, it's so much more tough.
Oh, it is, but hey, you can't even try when Vega takes you down like that. Nice. So close the doors wide open here for Toronto to just keep making this progress. At least the spawns are close. Kevster can come back into the conversation very quickly, but not before RuPaul might have this Kitsune rush.
Yeah, 10% away. And counting. I mean, look, they ripped this early. They know ENCE aren't going to have ults here because of how much fighting they've been doing, how much damage they've been doing too. But it's actually Kai that settles the score with RuPaul there with a railgun shot to the back. And a window. Just a nice little victory firework there for ENCE. That rush pulled by RuPaul. I mean, that's exactly what you want to do, right? You want to be able to get up in their faces and just push them over to get that free checkpoint, but not to be. A perfect place railgun shot there from Kai ended it all.
That is going to be the danger of Toronto Defiant picking this map. You've just gifted over maybe one of the best maps for Sojourn over to one of those lethal Sojourns that we have. Kai, gonna have this overclock very soon. Maybe able to pair that with something like this Gravitic Flux. But Vega with a sound barrier. That's what I'm looking at right now to see how Vega might use this. To bolster up the blade from Sugar Free or just as a response.
Then of getting booped away, has to deal with the lamp first, but oh, not if Ghost just walks out of it. 1, 2, 3 slashes, can't quite take down the Sojourn, but Vega was there with the backup. Only Kevster and Vestola now. Vestola trying to find a target, but everybody's just running rings around it. Nice little rock onto the Lucio. There should be an easy kill. Vega just taxiing the bot and taxiing the rest of his team. Vestola does need to die here at some point. There we go. Late death, actually. Might cost him a little bit.
A little bit of a late death. This bot's not moving too much further, though.
Vega.
Even with that, Vega overextended. That's not something that Kai's gonna let go unpunished. So just like that, maybe a lead Toronto we're able to get has been squandered. And it's able to take back control of this bot and at least push it back to the neutral.
Let's show Sugar Free how it's done with this blade in just a moment. Double headshot there with the Shurikens. He's just playing on this little bit of high ground here, using that glass.
This ends now.
They're going to the railgun first. They're going to try and force some cooldowns out and then maybe finish the job off. High noon bobbed by Merit. Look at all that support too. We can pop the cardiac overdrive to make sure he can stay alive in that one. There goes the Magnet a little bit wide as Kevster pulls the blade. Sugar Free already dead. Sound barrier takes Kevster sustained through the fight. That cage disappearing almost instantly there.
Got no value, even though it was trying to lock Kevster down, and even still, ENCE going to be able to get the better of that fight. Sound barrier invested by both Vega and Mazu leaves the field even to be for the next few moments.
Big death as well there at the very end. They're going to take the lead. And if they hold forward, Rose, if they get this flux, they might even take checkpoint.
That's what I was thinking. It's like even up until the moments that Kevster is able to get that triple. So, ENCE with the lead. Maybe even a checkpoint coming up soon. But Vestola with the flux now. Does he have a prime opportunity to use it? He gets moved away.
As you managed to kill Kai, Kevster might be next on the chopping block. A little bit of that speed boost there is Sugar Free running through that rush up. He's in a small room. Resets galore if he can find the initial kill, but it's RuPaul and someone just kind of hinting into the backline. There's no support. The bot has been stolen though by Vega. That's going to halt this push quite considerably. they're not going to be able to get checkpoint now. I think ENCE are going to be able to, well, are going to now have to fight Toronto Defiant, who are coming off of respawns.
Yeah, and luckily, Vega's able to escape with his life after doing such a risky play, but it did allow Toronto Defiant to actually get another contest and chance at this.
Don't let him get it.
Ooh. Very, very close.
Like 0.1 meters or something crazy. There's the blade, the flux too. Where's the target for Sugar Free? The lamp's gone, but so is he. Takes one with him, however, but Kai and Kevster, of course they're filling the kill feed. Nice deflect kill onto Merit, and that is the checkpoint for ENCE.
Checkpoint off the back of the blade. The sound barrier as well. Okay, Vega moving the score a little bit, but the fact that they have this checkpoint means that they do have these forward spawns for now. Can they get back into this before Toronto make it past this midway point? They've got to walk into this with Deadeye from Merit. And it's not going to be too much longer until Vega has his sound barrier up as well as another cage. But tussling over the point again, maybe Kai can open things up with this overclock.
Little high noon, sped up with the speed boost, plus sustained with the beats. Here comes the sound barrier from Vega, though, from Toronto Defiant. Sugar Free first of all. ENCE pressing the issue now. You can see how trapped someone is. Has to earn this ultimate ASAP. No cardiac overdrive. There it is, eventually popped, but it's not early enough. Can't sustain the rest of his team through that fight. And ENCE are going to win the mid-fight once again.
They can just keep playing on the defense here too. ENCE, they have the lead. Starting to get under sub 3.5 minute territory. They don't have any ultimates right now, but they just have to keep Toronto Defiant from getting any sort of meaningful progress with this push bot. They still don't have their own checkpoint unlocked. ENCE move that bot forward, give up that space to allow Toronto Defiant to come back into this. But someone has this cage to throw at this next fight on top of even this rush, so Toronto Defiant have multiple ways that they can close the gap here onto ENCE.
And ENCE, ideally, right? You just want to just stall this out here for as long as you humanly possible.
They want this midpoint.
Exactly. There's the rush. Oh, already RuPaul ends up going down. Cage is popped by someone, however, as Vestola was just dominated in that cage. Really hard to do anything from up on the high ground. You see Ghost was trying to lob the healing nades in, but it is Sugar Free that is cleaning out right now. 75 plus meters for ENCE and the checkpoint, mind you. Toronto Defiant, they're going to have a blade to work with and maybe a sound barrier. So a quick regroup from ENCE here might just stop them from doing so.
Vestola has the flux. So ENCE have a chance to come back in to get this contest. Vestola has the flux. It makes it a little bit more difficult for Toronto to have that point presence, but Sugar Free just goes after the back line with this blade.
They're going to go early. Oh, he finds Kevster lacking on the sidelines, but Kai makes sure he makes it even. As Vestola jumps down from the low ground, and there's isolation with the flux there, and Toronto Defiant, they are bleeding out. They're stuck in the mini health pack room, and I mean, a nice headshot onto Ghost, but they've lost control of the box. Cardiac overdrive, but a sound barrier onto 3-4 ENCE. It's going to force them to invest a whole lot more in here to win this fight. A nice shot from Merit, but immediately shut down.
And that's going to be no clean team fight win for Toronto just yet. ENCE able to keep this defense up now. 2 minutes off the clock to 1.5 minutes left. Potentially 2 more fights here if they are taken fast enough, but ENCE have the ultimate economy, which means that they could just win out this map. If they win here, Jaws, that's a series for ENCE. Biggest upset of the tournament so far.
2 DPS ultimates for ENCE as well. One to force out the beat, the one to finish him up. And with only 1 minute to go, Toronto Defiant know they got their backs up against the wall. NA's last hopes and dreams lying in this fight. 1 minute to go, and the railgun has been popped, but so is that beat. RuPaul with the rush could help them survive. However, look at how quickly they were to disengage. The blade's been popped by Kevster, and there's the rush. Okay, Kevster now has to play safe. No additional damage coming in, has to just back out. That's 2 giant ultimates for Toronto used.
They don't want to overextend here because they know that means going to a map number 5, and ENCE have the opportunity to win it out here and now. They want to get this Privitic Flux online, but someone's going to have this cage up first.
80% and building, but yes, someone with the cage and only 5%. Looking towards Vestola, there's the window, cage comes in! Ghost is already dead, but Kevster and Master are going to do it! The Flux is hitting! And they clean them up. Toronto Defiant have only got RuPaul left. And ENCE, they don't need to touch the bot any longer with 10 seconds to go.
With 10 seconds left, someone has the quick pick over to the Doomfist in order to try to get back to the point, but where in the world are
He
Toronto
can't get
Defiant?
there, and they've still got a beat to contend with, and NA's hopes and dreams have been dashed. ENCE take the series, and they will advance in the lower bracket to meet their brothers with a chance in the finals on the line.
What a show! What a match! What a win for ENCE! Toronto Defiant, we're that one team everybody was looking at to be the hopes and the dreams of taking down a Korean team. And they're knocked out here in the lower bracket. That's it for them. What an all-star performance by ENCE. That is crazy.
And NA's domination coming to an end. It's official, EMEA over NA. You've seen it here first, Toronto goes home. We say goodbye to every NA team in the tournament now. It is just an EU versus Korea tournament. Maybe an EU team can make it to the finals. It's going to be a hard-fought battle. But after that, ENCE, they've got to be feeling indestructible.
The road does not get any easier after this point. They have earned themselves, though, a rematch versus their EU counterparts, Space Station. That was a 7-map grand finals the last time they faced each other, and they get a chance at revenge coming up next.
I mean,
Gonna have to
Hardy
wait till
wanted
tomorrow,
it, right?
but still.
He wanted ENCE to make it. He thought Toronto was gonna. And I'm sure he's grinning ear to ear backstage right now. ENCE take the win. Toronto Defiant, the true kings of NA. There was a large tear break in between them and every other team, it felt like. But EU handed it to them in the lower bracket.
It's coming up EU for now. Oh man, it might be coming up for EU even further in this tournament, but what a fantastic performance by them so far.
Let's jump down to the stage. You've got Masa and Danny to give us a few words.
Josh and Nico, thank you very much. Yep, I am here with Masa from ENCE, coming out from a big win against Toronto Defiant. What a match that was. I mean, you guys did a fantastic job. Toronto Defiant, though, they weren't an easy opponent, and you know they played 2 matches, including this one. Was there anything that you guys learned from Toronto Defiant's first match that sort of helped you get the win today?
Yeah, we watched a lot of VODs. We tried to like get their game plan going and see like what they want to do and how to like just play against them and their style. And I think we got a pretty good read on them during the whole like series.
And let's be honest, you know, right before we started this interview, you asked me, hey, the North American teams are all out, right? And I was like, yeah, they are. So I guess
near airport.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely the superior region, I guess. But, I mean, there is still Korea on top, and you still do have one more match tomorrow. It's going to be battle for EU, I guess, because you guys are going up against Space Station Gaming. Masa, how do you think that game is going to be played out tomorrow?
It's going to be an absolute dogfight, to be honest. We've been going like back and forth in EU, like all the way, and now like playing against them on stage here, it's going to be like really great game.
Yeah. All right, everybody, give it up one more time for Masa from ENCE. That is it for the post-match interview. I think we are going to the desk.
You're thinking correctly, Danny. What an upset, what a victory. EMEA representing many people on this desk are very happy.
We had nothing to do with it, but
we had really nothing to lose. Hey, listen, like even heading into this all stage long, you were yapping, my friend. You were.
Are you calling out Jake?
Yeah, of course
I'm
I am.
disappointed. I'm disappointed in my North American brethren. We lost. In the end, winning is the only thing that matters.
You didn't do anything.
I mean,
maybe if Gilbert's nightmare was here on stage.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's going to happen. Someday we can dream.
One day. Yeah.
He's just taking notes for his upcoming match against Toronto. You know, like you see the cracks in the armor there. But Masa said in the interview, right? They came prepared. They went into the bot dungeon. They had a good idea of what style they're going to go up against. They came prepared.
I think when it comes to flexibility, for me, Kevster was just a monster performer this series on every single hero he touched. The Tracer, the Genji, the Mei, just delivering time and time again. Yeah, they hit a speed bump on Gibraltar, a map that frankly they were destined to lose based on those comps. But on every other map, they forced their will on the match, and Toronto Defiant just could not find the answers that a team like Falcons was able to bring. I think Merritt on the hit scan was an incredible performer. I mean, he had huge pop-off moments, and yet against a Sigma, no matter how good your aim is, just tactically, it's so much more difficult to get to that back line. I mean, just not really what hit scan heroes do, and Toronto Defiant, they didn't have any more answers. When it came to the mirror, ENCE was just the better team, hands down.
Yeah, obviously they had a game plan going into Colosseo, and I'll trust them on that because Casares, I mean, he's been in so many winning situations. So they had a game plan, weren't able to pull off the victory on Colosseo, and now they'll have to go back and reflect on this because, I mean, there's still lots of Overwatch to be played this year, of course. Got Face It going on, OWCS Stage 3 kicking off later this fall as well. So it's got to be said that this is a disappointment for Toronto Defiant. They come into this tournament and we're thinking top 3, maybe we can compete with the Asia teams, and now you go out here against ENCE, an opponent that we felt for the most part was maybe a bit hamstrung by the fact that they have Vestola playing the tank and they don't have Chase available to play some of those different heroes, right? But ENCE Esports, they come out on top here, and now Toronto Defiant, with so many star players on this roster, going out here in the lower bracket, I feel like, where do you kind of go from here?
Well, we'll find out very soon. One thing's for sure, though, if we're looking at the upper bracket here, Falcons as well as Raccoon, they were the teams that really expected to see Toronto Defiant again, if anything. So now they have to shift gears and have to prepare for one of the EMEA teams, which is certainly very exciting, as they're coming with some different flavors, which have been bringing to the tournament. But let's talk about Toronto Defiant, a team we're going to say goodbye to on day number 2 in this tournament.
I think Toronto has just been impressive all season long in NA. They've been the kings of NA. It's been their flexibility that was their biggest strength. But today, I feel like Kevster kind of had them on that front, right? Like it was ENCE who had the strategic advantage. In a lot of these maps, Toronto's forced to mirror, and traditionally, that's not their true strength of always being able to counterpick, always coming up with a strategic edge. Today they weren't able to bring that level of advantage. I think it showed.
And they had some good looks. I mean, even though they lost 3-0 to Crazy Raccoon, I did feel like that was a pretty competitive series. They were so close to winning Circuit Real. Hollywood, yes, they weren't that competitive in Hollywood, but they're still able to bring out a pretty competitive Mauga and Fora composition, right? So you just kind of wonder, like, where did it all go wrong? I mean, ENCE Esports are a really tough opponent because they are so specialized on these compositions. I think they do a perfect job, ENCE Esports, at playing these Sigma compositions, and they make it really difficult for the opponent. I think that someone, to some degree, was not playing his A game. He wasn't truly comfortable on the Ramatra and Mauga, and someone is arguably the most hyped up tank prospect we have right now because we talk about his versatility. Maybe not the case anymore.
Well, the thing is, in a lot of the games I think we saw today and also yesterday, it was individuals who took over the server. And one of those individuals earned themselves the Porsche performance of the match. This time, the honor has to go to Kevster.
He's racking them up at this point, but come on. I mean, if anybody was watching that game, it's pretty clear where this Porsche performance of the match was going to go. Kevster, I think he's been one of the longest running superstars. We talked a little bit earlier in the tournament about GOATs of Overwatch, and if you're not thinking Kevster is in this conversation, then think again. Just an incredible player, an aspirational player, frankly, for pretty much any DPS in the world. This is the future of Overwatch. You got to play it all.
Yeah, but I feel like he's really hungry for some of those wins, right? He had a really good stint on the Los Angeles Gladiators, and they won a couple of stage championships. But for the most part, they haven't really been able to come through, Kevster, in these big playoffs, right? And this is another tournament where backs is against the wall. You're really hungry to win some of these championships if you want to contest with that GOAT status, right? But it's about making deep playoff runs. And now ENCE Esports again in the lower bracket. They're playing against Space Station Gaming next, which could be a good matchup for them. We've heard Christopher, for example, say that ENCE has played really well in scrims. They've been really competitive in scrims. So that is a good sign for ENCE, whereas we consider Space Station to be a bit on top. So it should be a really even series with two opponents that are really familiar with each other tomorrow.